unmute it too. Okay,
You can talk about this some more, or you just cover it?
yes, no, I'm gonna talk about it more, for sure. All right,
Did we solicit this?
no, we did not solicit this, they approached us. So we did not solicit this, it came to us. I grab a quick drink and, wow.
Will we have time to look this over? Not right now.
Yes, and again, this is mainly just for educational discussion. You'll see a change in how the agenda is formatted. For Guy's suggestion, which I kind of thought was really beneficial for this group, where we have items that are action items, where we're gonna be actually having our board vote on something. And then we have items on our agenda that are discussions. These are not action items, these are giving me direction, us hearing from you guys, talking through conversation pieces, making sure we're all on the same page about stuff. So that's kind of a change in how we're structuring our agendas. So you'll see that moving forward. Let me make sure there's, we'll promote some people to panelists. We got some people joined online. Let's see if they come over. Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and call the January 21st meeting of the Business and Community Promotions Board to order at 2:01 p.m. I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call for our board. Steve.
Here.
Katie.
Here.
Tara.
Here.
Lana.
Here.
Jeannie. Andy.
Here.
And Lindsay Valdez, let me double check online and make sure she is not, I do not see her online, so we're gonna go ahead and,
So you're able to make the camera go out so it shows all the folks at the table? Sorry, I'm trying to complicate things.
camera control, yes. Zoom,
There you go, you're doing it. A little more.
zoom, oh, there's Lindsay, perfect, right on time, and I'm zooming out. Oh,
A little more,
how do we feel? One more?
a little more, a
One more.
little more. One more. Perfect.
Is
Got
that
it.
good?
Yeah, good.
Cool, okay, and for those online, if you give me a thumbs up, make sure you hear me and that you can see everything. That should help, but I think, okay, so Lindsay, we just did roll call, so you're here, oh, hi. Okay, perfect. So I do need a, motion to approve the agenda. Okay, Andy moved, I have a second.
Second.
Steve seconds, all in favor? All right, the motion is carried to approve the agenda, and then approval of the minutes. Did everybody on the board get a chance to review the minutes from the December 16th meeting? I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Also move.
Lana, I need a second. Tara, second. Okay, all in favor? All right, motion so carried. Perfect. Do we have anybody either online or in the room that would like to make a public comment, that would like to bring something to the board that is not on the agenda? Perfect. Okay. Do we have any conflicts of interest to report on the two items or that we're voting on? Okay, all right, so we're gonna move into my director's report. We did finalize our first quarter community conversation meetings that we've been hosting. They're actually more trickling into second quarter, but I think because of weather, we decided that that would be better. So we're gonna be doing an East End meeting on April 10th at the Yards. Thank you, Katie, for that. We're gonna do the downtown meeting on April 17th at Club Hotel in the Annex. Thank you, Anna, for that. Those meetings are gonna be focused on updates. My goal is that at those meetings, we can show the community and the people our new website. Show them some of the updates we might be working on the downtown master plan, some key updates that we'll be having around parking management for the summer, those kind of things. So just know that's kind of, if you're something specific you want to be bringing up at those meetings, definitely let me know. The chief of police has been requested by council to come to those meetings to discuss, Mayor, what is it called? It's a new technology.
Flock.
What's it called?
The flock
The
cameras,
flock cameras,
the two of them.
That's the brand name, but it's basically a camera that can
license plate.
recognize license plates, read license plates, like you have on the interstate and the tolls and stuff like that.
So city council has requested that chief come to both of those meetings and give a little summary on what that program will be, and also to receive any concerns from the community about if anybody's worried about that. So if there are any other.
For?
It's mainly for on both of the highways, if a car drives into town, it scans the license plate and it identifies whether that license plate is stolen or been reported for a felony. It will not do anything. If you have no problems, it doesn't record or keep data. It just takes a picture of your license plate. It's only held for 30 days and then it disappears. It doesn't do any like auto tracking of anything unless it's flagged. So if the license plate is stolen, it flags it, it sends a report directly to PD. PD then can come to the area and address that concern. So that's what it
Yeah, I
is.
heard the chief's presentation on
Yeah.
it, and it sounds like it's gonna be a great tool for them, so.
Yeah, please.
I also just wanted to add, the city already has license plate reading technology. What this does, chief says, it's like having a 24/7 officer at these two exits. And you know, if it really only hits if we've got a problem. There's somebody known to have committed a crime with that vehicle, or it's a stolen vehicle. But it alerts us as soon as they come into town, because a lot of the crimes that happen here, frankly, are not from locals. They're people off of I-70 looking for opportunities, often with stolen vehicles. So this would alert us. It's a proactive thing that we're subscribing to. Of course, the concern would be it's another big brother looking over your shoulder kind of thing. But that's why I say we already have license plate reading technology within the city. This would be a very proactive way to catch folks as they're coming off the interstate if they have ill intent coming into our community.
Wouldn't we have to post something advising people?
No,
No, because of the way the data is protected and the way the data is secured, and Chief can speak more heavily to that. But because it, number one, it's not stored for very long, and it's also only tagging information where there's already a crime that's been associated with that. So there's a lot of reasons, I guess, there that they don't have to do that. And it seems to be like, I mean, Lindsay and I both listened to the presentation. The vendor seems to have a very good understanding of all the data share rules, and they're in multiple other metro municipalities as well
That are using it currently?
that are using it currently. And we choose who we share the data with. So the PD decides who gets data and who doesn't, and the city really gets to make those decisions pretty strategically, it seems like. So he'll be coming to those. I know we'll probably have a good solid update from HDR by that point. Hopefully we'll have another solid update on where we are on a few other items. And then my goal is, moving into the next, is that we'll have the feedback from this survey that I would like to officially send out. I saw I got invited. Is that a survey platform that you invited me to this morning? Somebody invited me to a survey platform. Is that? Okay, we'll talk about that offline.
Okay.
Never mind. I'm recommending we use Google Forms. It's the easiest. We can do anonymous that way, so people don't feel like their email addresses are being collected or their names are being tied to their survey answers. It's free. We can do as many questions as we want. We have a city Google account that will populate all of the things into a shared drive that Andy and Guy and all of us have access to. So that seems to be the best platform. If we want to go down the rabbit hole of survey platforms, there are many and they range from inexpensive to very expensive. So my thought was, let's just use Google Forms. This is the full survey list. For those online, I'll share my screen so that you can see the questions that I'm speaking about. And I know for those that might not have it in front of them, that's really tiny up there. Let's see if we can zoom in. That makes it a little better. We have a section for East End. Everything will be optional. I'm not going to put any required questions in the survey. They'll all be optional. That way, if they want to fill out East End, I think we should just, as per our last meeting, we should send the full survey to everyone. And if people want to participate in certain sections, they can. If they don't, they aren't required to answer every question. But this is the latest and greatest finalized survey question list for that survey. So off the top of anybody's heads, is there anything that we feel like we left out? Is there anything we feel like needs to be structured differently? I did change the terminology and the wording around one-way traffic with emergency access. I think some people end up with questions just because they might not fully understand the question, but that's okay.
The 395 recipients are all business owners.
They are all people that have they're either business owners or community members that have participated in a community conversation meeting and have volunteered their email addresses to me.
Stevie, do we put any demographic questions on? For instance, are you a business owner or a resident?
There is not
How long
currently,
have you lived here? Do you rent or own?
there's none of that in there currently, so that is a really good suggestion. There are no demographics. I do think it's important to keep it anonymous, but that might be, are you a business owner or a resident or both? And then, I like that. That's it.
How long do you rent or own? How long have you been in business? Maybe those types of things.
Okay. Resident. Okay. Resident. Did I miss anything? Business, resident, rent or own?
How long have you been in business here? Maybe.
Okay,
If they have a family, because it seems like families were concerned about stuff, so.
okay, do you have a
especially with
family?
Transportation. you do
Okay.
have kids here, or-
okay. Okay, any other suggestions to add to the list? Nicole, you look like you have one?
Oh, no, I was thinking maybe pets or family, just so you're not being super.
Narrow, yeah, okay.
I have a question about one of the questions.
Sure.
It's like, you have any suggestions or questions about the paid parking program? If people put a question in there, what's the feedback loop to answer the question?
So the feedback loop will be the community conversation meeting. So
Okay.
any questions that I get via this survey, I intend to address them here, obviously, first, so that we all can come up with a shared answer, as well as at the community conversation meeting, bringing those questions, if we have answers for them, back to the community. That's kind of the goal, or at least what we told them we would be doing at the last two meetings we've had with folks.
Are those two meetings identical? Or
Um,
presumably, you know,
Pretty darn close. On the east end, we focused a little bit more on the camp stuff and a little bit more on Argo development projects. And then downtown, we focused a little bit more on master plan and downtown stuff. Overall, though, they were pretty consistent across the board, what we covered. From a broad spectrum, they were the same. The details is where we spent the difference of our time. And that was really guided by the questions that were in the room for sure. And I would imagine this will be very similar. Okay, so as we move into, the action item, what I will do is just collect some demographic data at the top of this, but just keep that in mind as we move into making a vote on that. Or can we vote on it now, Andy, within the director's report, or should I wait to vote on it till we move to that agenda? Does it matter?
I think I'd wait till you get to that show.
Cool.
Yep.
So keep that in mind for when we get to the action items. Okay, so update for you guys on where we are on the strategic action plan, which is our marketing plan. We have officially kicked off and started working with Ember. We had our big brand dig questionnaire that we all filled out. Some of us were very detailed and some of us very short. It was a very comprehensive questionnaire. On the 28th, we're going to be doing our first workshop. Everybody should have gotten an invite for those that wanted to participate in that committee. If you want to participate in the branding committee, please shoot me an email. You're welcome to participate. It's not a closed situation. I can get you an invite to that workshop as well. We purchased the domain, visit idahospringsco.com. So that has been done. I've gained access to the Visit Idaho Springs Facebook account, and I've set up an Instagram that also correlates with that now. So we now have management of Visit Idaho Springs Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, nothing is on there currently. It's old, but it's now at least I can post to it and do those kind of things from it. Like I said, if anybody wants to join the website and branding committee, just let me know via email. We're going to be doing that one workshop, and then Nate and I are going to be meeting the next day to kind of wrap up, and I'll send out a summary of kind of where we are on the next steps after he and I meet the next day. So we condensed it in. Probably, I would guess, branding committee folks, you will get something on the 27th, hopefully the 24th, but at the latest, the 27th. From Nate and I, that's kind of a summary of the brand dig questionnaire, all the answers, so that we can discuss moving forward. That will take a lot of the time that we needed so that we could break this into one meeting versus needing two. It's been challenging to get everybody to have the same availability. So we're working through that. I have been working very hard as well as with Steve. So thank you, Steve, for all of your help on this, on the draft collaborative marketing plan. Now, I think most of the board members got this in a separate email. I only have 2 additional copies of it. Again, this is not a finalized copy. This is just a draft for us to start. You got that via email. This is a draft for us to start to review. You guys can pass it around. It's great to have Jen here from Clear Creek Rec. We appreciate you being here. We have some questions around dates on here that we want to make sure we have the right dates.
Sure.
But this is essentially the starting of the movement around our marketing plan for this year. First thing that we're currently working on, just so you guys, as most of you are aware, we're working on a mini micro campaign that's targeted around pond hockey. So this is a good time to bring that up. And I'm going to let Steve talk about it briefly.
Talk about the,
Pond hockey, what we're doing right now and kind of where we're at.
well, the main thing we're doing is trying to be very collaborative with Georgetown and their people and the main sponsor, Cabin Creek Brewery and Clear Creek Rec, and not trying to step on any toes. I feel like this event could set a precedent for future events. Like we're looking at geofencing the area of the lake, to try to figure out where people are coming from and to direct them to the proper places in Georgetown and then overflow to Idaho Springs.
What I did was I spoke with Cass from tourism, Jess from Georgetown, and the PR person for Cabin Creek. And we kind of came up with an agreement that if Idaho Springs wants to do targeted advertising around pond hockey, that they're comfortable as long as we're respecting brand guidelines of Colorado Pond Hockey, and we're calling out and saying thank you to Georgetown and Cabin Creek for #1 stepping up to the plate to host this. We have this event at the lake for 5 years. So Steve and I feel like it's really important to start on a really good collaborative note.
And we can provide them with all the data that we receive.
Yep.
So they'll know where their people are coming from and all.
Cool.
Emma, do we have any idea if the roundabout bus schedule will be increasing for this time and bringing people from Georgetown to Idaho Springs, vice versa, and servicing the whole county?
Yes, so I asked the commissioners and Cass about that and I haven't gotten an answer that's clear. We are behind the scenes working on figuring out a shuttling system. I don't know if it's gonna be able to actually happen and go live for this year. We are scrambling to try to figure it out. Argo is willing to volunteer their bus and so we'll see.
Last year, they learned that a shuttle bus was unsuccessful.
Exactly. That's what I learned from Jess.
If it could be like a more designated, like every 2 hours, and it's benefiting getting people from transportation and widening the housing or like, you know, lodging situation, and I think that would be helpful, along with eating, restaurants, et cetera.
Yeah.
The largest problem with the shuttle bus being unsuccessful last year is just because of the quickness in which it was moved here.
Mhm.
And everybody's lodging wasn't in Clear Creek County. So I do think a shuttle bus
This year might be more
would be
successful.
completely more
Do
successful
you need a
this
shuttle
year.
bus in Georgetown or a shuttle bus going back and forth out of Spring?
Both.
Both.
Well,
And our vans are available as well.
Okay.
I haven't been approached on that, but I'm pretty sure we were expecting that.
I know Jess mentioned that she was planning on speaking to you about it. It was
Okay.
on her list of many things to do, but it
Yeah,
was on
absolutely.
her radar of things that she mentioned to me. And I said, you know, we can collaborate and help. These are the situations where I want to try to be more collaborative, where there's a large number of people coming to Georgetown and we want them to feel supported in this situation. As I told Craig and Jess, this is not at all about stealing traffic from this event. Number one, you can't really because they're playing pond hockey. They're there to play pond hockey and the pond is in Georgetown. So I can't really steal them. What I want to do is enhance their experience in the county. The messaging that we're going for is very specific and very clear to be talking about basically, you know, again, that enhancing is even used in the messaging in the ad. Idaho Springs enhances your experience, talks about that we have restaurants that have large capacities so that teams or multiple teams want to eat together. There's places for them to do that here. Family friendly things if people are bringing their families with them. And then obviously the hot springs, you know, good plug for them to be like, hey, come here, soak your muscles.
And as I mentioned on
Right.
Friday, we are also offering discounted day passes to the rec center and to all of pond hockey attendees and players. And those will go in Georgetown's brochure that goes to every hotel and all of the short-term rentals. So that'll be another
Yeah.
job. here for
And
sure.
Clear Creek, the Rex website is a part of our targeted websites, obviously, because they have the pond hockey information on their websites. The last clip of this ad says, a special thanks to the city of Georgetown and Cabin Creek Brewery for their partnership and dedication to this tournament. So it seemed like that call out, as well as using the correct branding for Colorado Pond Hockey, were kind of their two big caveats. So I've to discuss this heavily with Steve, and I want to make sure that the board is comfortable with me continuing that direction. If not, the other option is that we pull out a little bit and we go more broad spectrum and we do an advertising campaign that's February themed and not pond hockey themed. And then we don't geofence the lake. We just target the same kind of websites that we were going to be targeting for February. And we talk more about, hey, if you're going to be up in the Clear Creek County, we change the messaging just a little bit. It's less specific to pond hockey and it's more broad. Those are kind of the two choices that we have right now. And right now I'm paused, waiting your direction.
I think that, the pond hockey will continue to grow. I think it's here to stay. I hope, fingers crossed, and we're inevitably going to get overflow and making sure that we're calling out all of the lodging opportunities in Idaho Springs, because as we know, last year, a lot of people were staying up in Summit. We just don't have the lodging capacity. So making sure that we're putting all the heads and beds in Idaho Springs that we can before they go up to Summit, I think is should be a goal of ours, because then they're staying here, they're gonna go to breakfast here, they're gonna maybe shop around. And as long as, you know, again, just respecting Georgetown and the fact that, yes, this is an event they're building up, but I think they're doing a great job with that. So as long as we're, you know, kind of acknowledging, yes, this is a Georgetown event, but we're a community that comes together and we're here to entertain everyone.
Honestly, I was just thinking to draw more people here, is there something we could offer up? I mean, obviously I don't own some people to stay, but if people had proof that they were doing the pond hockey tournament, what if it was like 10% off their lodging?
So what Jess is doing in Georgetown, and this is something to bring up for everybody, is wear your jersey, get a discount. And that's something that they're advertising in Georgetown, and we could happily extend that into Idaho Springs, wear your jersey, get discount. I know that there's a couple places that are already kind of going that direction. Steve's already going that direction. Spice and Tea is gonna do the same thing. But that's, I did agree to that we would not have any direct, like,
Okay.
not any direct, like, that was kind of Craig's thing, like, that feels more like you're stealing versus being collaborative. So, however, Jess was comfortable in her marketing material saying many Clear Creek County, instead of saying Georgetown, saying many Clear Creek County businesses are honoring wear your jersey, get a discount. And that maybe next year our goal is to have a full list on tourism or a full list somewhere available of all the participating businesses. But again, as we last year had 3 weeks, this year we are getting a little more caught up. Hopefully by next year we have even more of a solid plan for this. Tara?
It sounds to me like you put a lot of work into it already and they have too. I think it's great to be building community, you know, doing some support here for them, because it sounds like we'll all benefit from it, but it's also needed. So I'd say instead of pivoting and, you know, we can work on that maybe in March or something, you know, I say go for it.
Okay, thank you. Lana?
Yeah, I'm good with it too. And I mean, I obviously have lodging that I can offer, and I did reach out to Jess about that. I sit on the tourism bureau with her, so
Mhm.
she wasn't super responsive. And I'll have to say that as the tourism board, we've been having conversations about this, and Nicole is obviously on this too. I think Jess is a little standoffish and prickly about it, and I think that being collaborative is good. I'm hoping that as we get through this first year and she sees how it goes, that maybe we can do more collaboration, because it feels like everybody's real high intensity about it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been, you know, with Georgetown and tourism especially, I think because of those, there's a lot of, and her and I's meeting had a lot of conversations around that. And I told her, our position is we want to do our best to be a contributing member of tourism growth in the county. And however we can partner to make that happen, we're on board with that.
Right, and that my experience so far, and I'm relatively new at all of this, is that anybody who's not in Idaho Springs gets a little bit prickly about the people in Idaho Springs and the businesses in Idaho Springs.
Yeah,
And so-
as I talked to Craig, he was like, this is a long, I'm like, I'm just trying something new. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have Carla go first and then Nicole.
Do we have an understanding of how many people we're talking about?
18,000.
18,000.
Yeah.
And what is the pond hockey association made up of? Is it schools? Is
No, it's sponsored by PAPS, the PB, the beer. It's a big, the Avalanche sponsor it. It's a well-established, it's a national.
There's actually a good team that came over from Finland last year.
Yeah, and there's one from Japan. Jess was saying there's one from Japan and
And and how many locations do they go to?
they several across the
They
country.
do, these guys are guys I know from Minnesota, I'm from Minnesota, where
Yeah.
they put on the largest pond hockey tournament in the country. So I think right now they have 4.
Yeah, I think it's 4.
And that 18,000 number, what I was given, and I could be off, the last year was like 3,000 a day.
Yeah,
So
so
are they
the-
counting, you counting
they're
that
co-
like
they're
total
counting the-
days?
they're
Okay,
counting
yeah,
the
that's
broad-
important.
But
the broad reach of it all.
And with all of that said, I would vote, if I had a vote, I would vote towards branding it as pond hockey, not just February, because we get lost in this month of, you know,
Things to do
whatever
up
it
here.
is, and yeah.
And CCMRD also has a pond hockey tournament that
Right after.
follows the following weekend after that. So it kind of is pond hockey.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is, and again, that's mentioned in our banner ad. I've got an approval to send your way that talks about that. So, and then Nicole.
Just to connect with everybody and enhancing their experience in the county, do we have an idea of anybody lost for lodging? Is everybody booked up that is coming? Are there empty spaces? And this is where we can maybe reach out to everybody to fill those needs with places that have vacancy.
I asked Jess to please let me know about that, and she and I have another touch meeting in a couple of days that she's supposed to let me know, and Lana, you're on my list.
Well, and I reached out to Jess as well, and she never responded back to me.
Yeah.
So,
Because I don't think that's a way that, I don't think anybody's stealing. You're making somebody like not frustrated to not allow it to not continue after this 5 years. If it's gonna be an issue for these 18,000 or 3,000 a day to be spread and having a place to stay or enjoyment, that's where we're falling short as like a community.
Yeah.
Georgetown doesn't have that capacity. I mean, there
No,
just
so
aren't
we have to
enough
spread it out.
lodging. Have you seen any? I'm just curious. Have you
I've
gotten
seen
any?
nothing.
Okay,
No.
so nobody's like booked for the club hotel
Oh,
from pond
well,
hockey?
I mean, it's also Valentine's weekend, and so,
It's hard to
Hard to
say.
tell.
so, yeah.
I do know that our Airbnbs are booked out. So, we have been told that all of the Airbnbs in St. Mary's are already sold out for that weekend. Again, holiday weekend, it's also President's Day weekend. So it's hard to say necessarily, but we are completely at capacity when it comes to our Airbnbs that are within city as well as up at St. Mary's. So we do know that.
I met with Jess for lunch last week, and I think I would just email her again. I think she's so
She's
overloaded with
really overwhelmed.
so many
She is as
things.
well, and that was kind
Yeah.
of where, honestly, like, my suggestion to the tourism board is like, we need to give it a beat here. Like, I feel like we're trying to do too much, too fast, too soon without
Sure.
enough scope of what's happening. And so I think, I don't really know how the vote turned out, but I think from a tourism board perspective, we were gonna do some CJ Minor branding and some stickers and maybe have some presence at the event. And there was a lot of conversation about, you know, getting around the county, but outside of that, it's kind of, you know, how much can you do until you know what really needs to be done? That's the way I'm feeling. And it's good to try to get in front of some of this stuff, but it's really hard to anticipate where exactly all the sticking points are gonna be.
Yeah.
100%. And again, we started this conversation from the thought of we want to make sure we're supporting and making sure that we're enhancing this experience. My tone has never been about trying to be in competition. Number one, you guys know where I stand. I don't think we're in competition with Georgetown because we offer such very different things. We're more complementary than we are competitive in a lot of ways. And I think as we're switching that tone, it's helping a lot. It's an uphill.
It's gonna take.
It's
a
an
minute.
uphill situation. On that participation call out, they are in need of help, scorekeepers.
Scorekeepers are short, like 15 short. I know the rec center has a call out, I know the Rotary Club's sending people up there, but
I have a flyer out to the high school. The scorekeepers don't have to be adults either. They
Nice.
can be I mean, within reason. They have to only count balls.
They do have to count. Counting is important.
More than a warm body.
Right, but you don't have to know hockey, you don't have to ref, you don't have to settle disputes, you're really just there to count the goals, and so anybody, and I've been sending out like front row seats to the Colorado Pond Hockey Tournament. This is how you get in, I mean, you're on the ice, so you get to watch all the games. So yeah, any help that, obviously they reached out to you too, any help that we can get with that, that is their biggest issue right now.
That is also community service for high school students.
It
Yes, so
is.
that's why we put it out to high school.
Yeah.
I also put it out to general community service people that need a community service hours, but they need a lot of people. They used to have just a Boy Scout troop that did all of the scorekeeping as like their service, and when it moved from Summit, they lost that, so. Anything I'm not thinking of or Steve hasn't thought of, if you.
One
Boy
again
Scouts,
from,
but it's a small,
It's-
very
I mean,
small
we'll take
group.
them.
yeah, and from our board's perspective, as I'm gonna be out of the country for this event, I would love, Steve's gonna be there for sure, but any other board members, if you guys can show up and say thank you and, appreciate their collaboration there. They are very happy that we're coming. We can get on and in the tent thing where you get access to the VIPs. It's a fun event. If you haven't ever been, it's a blast. It's a ball. It sounds like to me, and I didn't get Andy and Jeannie on the pond hockey. Are you guys kind of in agreement with what everybody else is saying?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and move forward on that then.
One other thing, back to the shuttle thing,
Mhm.
I think it's an important thing that we could offer, but as far as the rec centers you have available, what do they cost? Is fuel and labor involved?
And I would, and I'd have to clear this with Jesse because he does the rentals, but personally, I would waive that fee. Any exposure from this pond hockey certainly helps CCMRD's pond hockey, so we have a lot of trade-offs with these guys for
Yeah.
those tournaments already, so if they can find the drivers will be the tricky part. That's always my challenge is drivers, but it would be just the fuel.
As I understand, sorry, there's already a shuttle, but the shuttle has 3 certain routes and it only is within Georgetown currently.
Correct.
So it stays within Georgetown. So if we're looking for another shuttle service that would service bringing more people out to lodging, offering them a different dinner experience, then that to me would be additional, maybe like Mary Jane's Argo bus, or we really should talk to the roundabout
I'm gonna say
on
it's the
being
roundabout road.
part of this for community events especially.
I've reached out and I have not gotten an answer
Huh,
about
okay.
roundabout. So I don't know if someone's got a good in for that. I do not.
Isn't
have
it
an in.
Snorri? Does it?
It falls on deaf ears.
I was wondering, I had mentioned this before, we're missing out on a lot of hotel rooms in Black Hawk and Central City. Instead of them going to Summit County, that would be a collaboration with Gilpin County.
Well, definitely a collaboration with the city of Black Hawk, because they don't really collaborate too much with with Gilpin County as a whole. That's definitely a goal for 2020.
Yeah, I realize it would take.
However, Lindsay and I now have really great connections up there that are, Lindsay's working on a resilience project that's Gilpin County and Clear Creek County both. That'll be a great bridge, and I have really good relationships up there as well, but that's a really good suggestion.
Just a quick question on the 18,000, which is 3,000 a day. Is that participants
It's
and visitors?
it's a broad number that kind of came from both participants and visitors.
We have roughly 300 teams of 5 players per team. So figure that number, 1,500, and then everybody brings X amount of family with them, is I think where that number comes from per day.
Okay,
So
oh,
the
go ahead.
other thing is that they don't have the parking they had last year. So what I'm trying to get to is like, we offer parking in a shuttle from here and to pay for it. I told you the idea, like, it could be next year thing, but it could be a charter service where a team gets a deal for parking here. We work with parking on that, and then it could be sponsored by a business like Bojo's, and they go there, they charter the bus back, and they get it's like a fee per person. I don't say it's $50 per person. They get parking, shuttle, and a pizza.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
That's a really good idea for next year for sure. Again, keep those wheels turning. I already noted that on my list for next year. This year, my goal is if I can get between CCMRD and Argo, maybe a shuttle that happens throughout that weekend that can get us here on the schedule, or even better, get assurance that the roundabout is functioning more than it normally does on the weekends. That would be great. But again, that's pretty low. The biggest problem we're having is drivers. So same thing happened for Argo, is Mary Jane fully offered a bus. However, we need to figure out the driver situation. So I'm currently working on that. So if anybody has any creative ideas about a driver.
Is that CDL? Sorry.
Yes, Mary Jane's bus does require a CDL.
Argo.
So
A lot of, rack guys drive and have CDL licenses,
Yep.
and a lot of like stick around for winter time too.
Yeah.
Reaching out to them.
I did reach out to a couple of the raft guy owners asking, hey, do you guys know anybody? I got a couple of names, so I'm kind of poking to see.
Like Alan from LD, we work closely with,
Yeah.
everybody from ABA too. I mean, they've got a ton of them, and I know a ton of them go up to like Loveland or
And then-
Winter Park for winter, but they reside here.
Yeah, the 2 guys I did speak to from AVA are running the shuttle in Loveland that weekend. So they're,
And if we know somebody or come across somebody, who do we contact? You?
Yep.
Okay,
send them my way if you know somebody that's,
has a CDL?
has a CDL, or the vans I don't think require,
No.
Jen, you don't need a CDL on your.
We do
bus.
not need a
Yeah.
CDL.
So if we come up with somebody that's like, hey, and in past, when we've run shuttles, say for Rapid Grass or whatever, that have been well attended, the tip aspect of being a shuttle driver is a great bonus. They will tip you, just put a little thing up, and they're very friendly to do that. I want to keep us moving because we do have a lot to cover. So thank you guys for the guidance on pond hockey. We're gonna move through this draft collaborative marketing plan real quick. The one couple of things is, Steve, call me out the dates for Jen that you were concerned about. Jen, when is the Slacker?
Yeah, the Slacker's wrong on that.
Yes.
It's the 28th.
28th. Okay, so I will correct that.
Always the fourth Saturday in June, and that's a weird month.
Yeah.
What is Couch to Slack to that?
That, I don't even know how that ended up on there. It's just a program that I run.
It's an amazing program that she
Amazing
runs, that I
program.
ran last year.
This,
And I was
It's
able
just,
to run a half marathon because of Jen.
I coach it. It's a twice a week. You want to run a half marathon or a 4 mile race. I give a comprehensive 17-week training program. We meet twice a week, locally and run.
Do you want me to take it off of there, or do you think
It's
can I
more
leave
a
it on?
program than an event, so I was trying to weed those out and I think I just missed that one.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna take that out off
That's
of
cool.
the events list, but I will keep it in there for program ideas
Yeah.
for
If anyone
collaborative
wants to run
marketing.
the Slack.
Yeah, well, it'll be
Come
good
with
for,
Donuts?
Does it come with donuts?
No?
Yeah, probably beer. Probably maybe not.
so,
Very good.
minus the micro campaign that we're doing for pond hockey, we are recommending, doing what are called modules. Okay, so these are campaigns or flights, it depends on who you talk to in marketing terms, all the fun words. I tried to give you guys the marketing channels and pathways that we're planning on using, and then the 3 recommended marketing modules, which are like full campaigns where we'll be doing ad buy, we'll be doing a TV spot, we'll be doing business buy-ins where businesses can buy in. There's still a lot to work out in this matrix, specifically around what are the suggested business buy-in levels, like what are included, what are not included. But the 3 modules will be a spring module that's April, May. Then nothing in the summer as per city council's requests. A fall module that's gonna be in September and October, and a end of the year module, November, December. They will be featuring around our events that are happening during that time. The spring launch module, hopefully, we're gonna get some good news coverage about big components being flown in for the Argo. They're gonna be flying in components via helicopter. That is a perfect news story and a great time to get some good press for free. So we're gonna be talking a lot about that. Promoting the borough races and Furling Fest, Historic Preservation Month. Partnering with the Historical Society and the Visitor Center to make sure that we're hitting all those historical notes. My goal with the Historical Society, and I talked to Jan Bolin a little bit about this, is to try to get the walking tour newspaper done by then. We'll see. They're working on it. I'm working on it. If you haven't seen it, it's an old school newspaper that has a little call out for all of the plaques that are on all the buildings, and it's a self-guided historic walking tour. And it's pretty awesome, already done.
Oh, sorry, do you have a spare copy of the marketing plan? Or
I
when
will
would
email it to you.
That'd be awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of things that are in this draft plan. For board members, I'd like you guys to kind of dig your teeth into there. I definitely, as soon as I kind of get with Gregory on dividing out our city contribution budget, so from the city's end, we have $47,000 to spend on marketing modules. That's because we came in under budget for the website and the branding, so we have a little bit more money in that category. We obviously would like to boost that budget up by business buy-ins. So offering businesses the opportunity to buy in, I'm suggesting 2 levels, a high level, full everything, and then a lower, more approachable level that could be something that's a little bit easier for smaller businesses to bite on, that would maybe include less. I'm working with Gregory to get those exactly tied out about like what it would include, what it wouldn't include, so that we can make sure that's very clear to everyone. But I'm not clear yet on that. So if anybody has any thoughts or suggestions, please let me know. Again, this
There'd
is
be a-
super draft, go ahead.
like a limit on how many people per month could participate in either of the buy-ins, or is it like an unlimited number of
It's
people?
pretty unlimited. The more money we have, the bigger reach we can get and the more, clicks we can get, the wider range we can get, the more we can spend on maybe it being a 3-minute TV spot versus a 30-second ad. There's a lot that goes into these ad buys, and these marketing buys. So there's a lot. I'm learning so much. One even knows. Katie?
What do you currently have in mind for distribution for this ad buy? Like how much of this is gonna be local broadcast? How much of this is gonna be Facebook marketing, web marketing?
So I would say most of it is gonna be focused on the metro area complex, and then some click, pay-per-click, stuff. I wouldn't imagine we're gonna do, probably most of our Facebook stuff's gonna be done in the summer, just because that's easy, simple, low-hanging fruit that we won't. Mainly for the big modules, we're gonna be focusing on the vast metro complex. Our target markets, according to Placer, are Colorado Springs, Aurora, and kind of North Metro complex area, Broomfield, Westminster,
And this is broadcast or OTT?
all of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. We're gonna try to make this try it all as much as we can the first time around to see what works. Since this is the first time we're doing it, then we're going to be leveraging Placer to really see our return on our investment so that I can come back to you and say, we're not doing that again. That did us nothing. Or, hey, we're definitely gonna pay more close attention to this because we saw it actually drove traffic. So those are kind of where we're at on all of that. We did have our first kind of as we move into this, we had our first events planning committee meeting. I owe all of you guys a follow-up and a calendar and a shared sheet. It's coming, I promise. I am knee deep in media day tomorrow, and as soon as my head returns from that, then I will get everybody, but we were able to get a really solid, better events calendar. We're still waiting on some participation from the Historical Society and a few other, Clear Creek Arts and Education. I know they're gonna be having some events, so I'm still getting some events trickling in. What the committee decided is we're gonna have a collaboration document that's gonna show all the events and timeline for each event so that we can then share that link to business owners and they can see, oh, here's an event that's coming up on this Saturday session series right across from my restaurant. I'm going to have this many people. I need more staff. So we're trying to make sure that that starts to become a resource that's available for our businesses as soon as possible. And then of course, that will transfer over to the website, having our events tab be very robust as well. So we're working on that. We set the date for Furlings Fest on the 7th. It was decided just one-day events. So Furlings Fest, June 7th. Tommy Knockers is co-sponsoring that event. Fall Harvest Festival is the 27th. This is going to be a Taste of Idaho Springs themed kind of event. This is the 27th of September. Pickaxe is co-sponsoring that event. I set per feedback from business owners, I set 3 mini block party events. And these will be kind of where we have some fun games out, some music out, some other things, low hanging fruit, easy activation. July 16th, that will be the 1400 block. August 13th, 1500 block. And then September 6th, the 1600 block. And those are going to be some fun. If you saw any of the games that we had out on 4th of July last year, it's going to be some of those, as well as some music, opportunities for CCMRD or Clear Creek Arts and Education to come out and talk with the community. These are going to be geared more towards community versus bringing visitors in. These are more for our residents. So they're going to be marketed very differently versus pulling people in. Furlings and Fall Harvest are more bring people here. Block parties are more let's celebrate our beautiful community with our residents. Okay, Media Day, that's tomorrow. So this is our first, this is all media representatives. I'm probably gonna have, a little over 20 media representatives tomorrow, here. They are salespeople. These are not reporters. These are all of the media sales representatives that represent mass media, print media. We have the marketing person from DIA coming. We have, you know, a billboard company coming. We have a pretty broad spectrum. We have some radio advertising people coming. So this is for us to basically say, hey, you want to watch out for Idaho Springs and you want to give us the best price. Because we have a decent marketing budget and we have a lot happening. So it's really a negotiation tool. We will be doing 2 PR days, one in the spring and one at the end of the year. Let me tell you. Oh, I haven't set the dates yet. One in March and one in early December. These PR days will be when we're going to be inviting reporters. I'm going to try to get our legislator up here. Our congressman is going to come. I'm gonna push for Polis to come. This is gonna be the reporters coming, us having put a big show on, kind of a watch us, pay attention. We need your support.
In March and when?
December. Those dates have not been finalized yet. So as soon as the timeline is late March, early December for those 2 days. So thank you for those that have put things in the swag bags. And for those of you that want to be like, oh, I want to put something in a swag bag, those PR days, I will also be doing swag bags. And those are going to be the big reach. That's going to be reporters and legislators, people that might have more impact. People coming tomorrow are people that literally are trying to sell us stuff. So we don't need to give them too many free things.
How did you decide these 2 dates or months?
Based off of just kind of shoulder season before our summer starts, before our spring summer starts, and then before the season of next year starts. So mainly kind of geared around some of the key project dates is really actually an important part of the choices of those timelines is some key project developments.
Well, it just seems like if we've got coverage and all this event March, but people aren't really starting, till June or so.
Again, these are mainly gonna be people that we're wanting them to know the projects that are coming and knowing this is not asking for coverage of the month of March.
No, I understand that, but, okay, well.
And also, we're all very, very busy anytime, like once April, May, June, July, these people get really, really busy. And so what I was told is if I want a chance of getting them to come up here, I need to kind of be very strategic about choosing slower periods of time where their engagement lists are not as long. So that's where
sounds good.
That's where those dates came from. Okay, any questions on my director's report? Thoughts, concerns? Okay, so we're gonna move on to action items. I would love a motion to move forward with the survey via Google Forms with the addition of the demographic data. Lindsay moves. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Katie seconds. All in favor? All right, that motion carries. Wonderful. Okay, and then Uchi presented us a pretty broad spectrum last meeting on a collaboration project with Scraps to Soils. I think what she wanted to make sure was clear was that this was not a project Scraps to Soils wanted to take on. This was something that she was requesting that the business board lead and that Scraps to Soils would connect on. This is a recommendation for a beautification focus with Scraps to Soils. You guys should have seen that in your packets. Let me find it on my computer so I can show it up. It was an attachment, yeah, to the board directly. And now I have to find it. So sorry, my apologies. Where did it go? Do you have it, Steve? Thank you. You can pass that around and I'll open it up. Meeting day. Proposal for collaborative.
Beginning.
So basically, this is, Scraps to Soils wanting us to focus a little bit on beautification within the community. Okay, share this one. So she identified some low hanging fruit projects, that I'll scroll to so we can get there. There's a lot in, oh, no, they're not in here. She had, like, if you remember, like painting under the bridge. I'm feeling like this year is a lot to take this on. However, I will do what the board wants me to do. I would think that this is something we want to consider moving forward. Having a philanthropic component of working on beautification within our city is great. Partnering with Scraps to Soils to expand their services and do more initiatives around, planting and beautification, I think are excellent. I'm just not sure if it's something that the board has the capacity to take on this year, but that's up to you guys.
Although one of them,
Yeah,
there's a bunch of.
there's a
ideas.
bunch of ideas on here.
Did she mention like having even just the school, like the kids coming and picking up rocks and taking the rocks, painting them and putting back, just because
100%.
walking underneath the bridge is so, like, it's such an eyesore, it's kind of eerie down there.
Mm-hmm.
Just brightening it up, just that part of the walk in itself, and we can ask anybody, even a local artist, to go underneath and paint. She mentioned like maybe painting under there. or
Yeah.
Something, just to kind of brighten it.
It's kind of creepy walking.
It's totally creepy, especially if it's down or dusk, it's a little bit
Yeah,
down there.
I mean, it's absolutely something where we could, I think,
Even just reaching out to the school and being like, this is school, it's, it's kindergartners even, or first grade.
Miss Williams
Kindergartners
is the
first,
art
first
teacher.
grade.
yeah, so
Yeah.
this was kind of her
Come and paint
recommendation. You can
rocks
see
or
it up on
whatever, take them
on
to
the
school or
screen.
whatever.
Some paint on there. Obviously, it's a CDOT right away. I would imagine, Andy, like we would need
We need-
CDOT's.
Make sure CDOT's good with it.
Yeah, we would need CDOT's collaboration and participation on that, but this might be the easiest quote unquote low hanging fruit off of the projects that are there.
How about lighting?
There is lighting under there.
It's not great though.
It's not great.
Like they're saying, a light.
There is a light under there. That would also be something CDOT would, they own the lighting
It's kind
under
of like
there.
when you go under there, I'm like looking up on the rafters and I don't know, it's just.
It is creepy. There's no question. We could definitely, this is a low hanging fruit project that we could work. And again, what Uchi is requesting is that we take it on as organizational thing and that we could partner with Scraps to Soils and they would do a lot of the, some and a lot of the legwork, like being able to like reach out and partner with schools, helping us. So burden wouldn't fall completely on me. I'm comfortable taking on one project, but not all of them.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking about how I could contribute and see if we could like partner it somehow with the spring planting and like, provide them with wholesale pricing for like the perennial area that she was talking about. So I'd love to help. I just don't know the amount of commitment that is accessible through the board or where she's wanting to meet on that. So, I mean, I think all of her ideas were really great and I'm happy to help and participate, but in terms of like the boundary on where we're doing. But I do think one annual thing would be awesome to support.
She gets a lot of support too, just through Scraps to Soil, like we feed them every year. And there's a lot of people that show up for it. I'm sure
Yeah, she has
that
a
could
pretty
totally work out.
strong volunteer network through Scraps to Soils, which is really nice, and it might be good to even partner with Flowers and it's Flowers and we could turn it into a Flowers and event where we could do flowers and rock painting, kind of a situation. Flowers will come after school is out again this year. Carla?
I'm a little bit confused and I wasn't at the last meeting, so she wants help, she's asking for help operationally. Is she asking for funding or is she asking for a partner to help them?
She's asking for a partner to help them, so it would be basically us working on getting some business sponsorships from this official board being able to put out a request for business sponsorships for a specific program, and she's asking for administrative support mainly, someone we as the board would be the organizing body, and then Scraps to Soils would be a partner, and then we could ask for additional partners, maybe CC8 wants to partner in too. That's kind of where this direction is going right now, and a beautification of there, she identified like 4 projects that could be completed, and so I definitely don't feel like I can do all of them, but maybe one.
Do we have any like philanthropic budget? Like, could we pay for me?
We-
Allocated budget or?
We do not have anything specifically allocated in our budget for philanthropic. However, we do have a section that's a contingency section of our budget that is not designated to anything, that's contingency for other funds that the other projects that the board might see as needed, but we don't have anything specifically geared towards philanthropic in our budget. But we do have contingency funds that we could vote to move.
So we do have a couple projects that we could already use some help with that are gonna happen, and we usually are always looking for people, and maybe a way to get them involved and get them started is to get them involved in those projects like planting the flowers, receiving and planting the flowers. I know you and others have made an effort to try to do something with the flowers when they die in the fall. You know, we have decorations downtown. And then we are gonna be installing bear-proof trash cans in the community. And one of the thoughts is to wrap them either with historic images or artwork. That hasn't really been decided, but they are kind of like what you see in the parks, they're pretty plain. And but we saw an opportunity on the sides to do something with them. So I'm just wondering, that's a real need. That's something we already have to do, and maybe to engage them this year without a lot of extra work, because we already have to do the work.
Right.
Somebody's got to do it. Maybe that's a way of getting them involved. And the other, I did also think of the Clear Creek Center for Arts Education this is really when in the description, they're talking about all the culture and the arts and things like that. I mean, that's in their wheelhouse. So how do we
Partner
get
the
everybody
two.
pulling together? And I understand what we're being pulled in is to get the businesses involved and the sponsorships. So I think we do need to give a little more thought to how all that's gonna come together.
Come together,
Yeah.
okay.
Also, from a sites and facilities standpoint, there's several of our sites that need simple things like that done. We talked about, about possibly bringing in people to volunteer. So, there were several that were just very easy rehab projects. So that's like 3 things now, kind of. running
So maybe the
concurrently.
next step we do is that I loop in Carla, loop in Sites and Facilities, loop in Uchi from Scraps to Soils, and see if we can keep moving it forward and then bring it back to you guys
And
when we have
work on
more.
things that we already have to get done.
Yeah.
And then just see if we get more people involved, get it going, and then think about other projects next year.
Are the trash cans, are they pretty large, like a dumpster?
No, I mean, but
They're
they're
like
just, they're
normal.
boxy and they're bear proof. So they're kind of big, and they're gonna be different than what we have now, which they're kind of fall apart, but they're gonna be square and they're gonna have 4 good sides on them. And
Well, an idea, I don't know how well it would go over, but what if you offered the local businesses to have magnetic signs and rotate the signs around, and then the businesses could, pay for the sign, and then there's spaces, it would be decorative and it would enhance.
We'd have to look at sign code for that. But that's definitely something to bring up for sure. Okay, I'm gonna keep us moving because the
Yeah.
next thing that we want to talk about is parking. So the reason that this is on the agenda is actually a moot point, as we thought it might be. However, I do want to bring it up, and I'm gonna bring it forward so that people are aware. There is some business owners in town that have been and brought parking back up to the surface and have brought lots of concerns around paid parking and paid parking being responsible for the decrease in their businesses, and that parking should be abolished in paid parking, should be abolished in Idaho Springs. And I was pre-warned that a petition, which I have seen, was going to be brought to city council. I spoke to that business owner and asked, please don't do that. Please come and talk to the businesses and talk to us all together. And come with an open mind and let's talk about parking and let's talk about those things. That business owner did not come today. So right now, what I do want to say is that we've had some really great parking meetings talking about enhancing the parking management program, especially for the summer. On the east end, specifically, the best idea we've had so far that we're working on is Ashley, please correct me if I'm wrong, a 2-hour free parking and then the 3rd hour paid on the east end. Yeah. And offering some kiosk registration options, but for validation if needed. But we thought the 2-hour free thing seemed to cover a lot of circumstances. That's kind of what we've started to talk about. The validation program at the visitor center is working well. The bicyclists are using it, and if they come in and participate and buy a ticket to the museum, then they get free parking. So we can maybe work out alternatives for East End businesses for something similar. It's working at the visitor center so far, but the 2-hour free followed with 3 hours at the 3rd hour at 250. That hasn't been officially adopted or anything like that yet. Correct. So we're kind of just starting to work on that. However, I did get some additional feedback from businesses on when they saw paid parking was on the agenda, basically talking about really thinking that it's important that the whole town is on a paid parking or a parking management program, based off of the summer and concerns around managing the parking. So that's what I have to say about parking. Mayor, Andy, Steve, anybody else?
My question for the vouchers is
Yeah.
who's paying for that? Is the city just waiving the fees for people parking if they come in and validate their parking?
At the
After,
visitor
like, after
center.
the 2-hour mark, that 3rd hour or whatever, but for the first 2 hours it being free like that, they're not being charged at all? Okay.
They still have to register. The
Okay.
situation would be that they would have to register no matter what. To get that 2 hours free, they need to register.
Okay.
And
they go and
then
they validate it and that's just completely waived from the city. Nobody's paying for that at all.
at the visitor center, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, at the
So
visitor
the
center.
businesses aren't like for the validation, nobody's paying for that.
That right now is not, again, that's not, nothing has been finalized yet. What I can tell you is that at the visitor center, that's how that's currently working. It's completely waiving the fee.
Why are we catering to this? It's very disturbing. This is hitting a nerve with me right now. To people that are having negligible impact to the business, all the businesses in town. I mean, you're gonna get free parking, and yet the people that are actually trying to be on Minor Street to maybe go to the shops and some of the other businesses have to pay.
They pay for their ticket, right? They give money to the visitor center. So they, right? Is that right? They're paying
That's correct.
for their museum. So it's like if I come and I'm actually just wanting to go to the museum and go to the visitor center, then I get the free parking. But if I'm a biker, I don't. Or if I am a biker, I have to purchase a ticket to the museum. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And there's not
That
free,
was historically free parking.
Yeah.
But only for the visitor
Their
center,
center.
so it was opened up to allow other people to use that lot. But if you wanna use that lot and you're not going to the visitor center, you have to pay to use the lot.
Well, what about the rest of Colorado Boulevard?
right now it's free parking.
I understand that.
Yeah. What we're proposing is that 2-hour free with the 3rd hour situation. That's kind of what we've talked about. Ashley, help me.
I just wanted to clarify for the visitor center, so historically, it's been 100% free, the paid parking program hasn't gone down there. when B Camp activated, because it's the first parking lot you can see from where they turn off. It became an area of concern that visitor center visitors wouldn't be able to park there. So in an effort to protect parking at the visitor center, we implemented paid parking in that lot. But because it was meant for visitor center visitors, that visitors that go into the visitor center and purchase a $12 ticket for the museum can then be validated as a way of protecting that historically visitor center only parking for the visitor center. It's also now serving as a case study for what we could do in the East End.
Does it have a time frame?
2 hours.
So I guess the question is, so on the east end of town, you could park for 2 hours for free. But in downtown, you have to pay, even if you're just a single hour. So why the difference between, I think that's the question.
Well, yeah, that definitely, I wasn't referring to the parking lot of this.
No, I mean on the east end
I'm
of town.
talking about in general.
If I may, take a trip down memory lane. The parking funds are sequestered to fix the parking problem downtown. East End hasn't had a parking problem actually at all until we opened up the Virginia Canyon Mountain Bike Park. Downtown has always had a parking problem. So the money is its own enterprise. It's going to fix the parking problem downtown by building a parking structure. And I will, just in case there's folks here that don't know, early on, we had talked about a special assessment against downtown businesses. That was not real popular. Let me just say, there was a majority that wanted it because it would have got the parking structure built faster, frankly. And I haven't met a business owner that would say we don't need additional parking. They just didn't want a special assessment against their business, because that's what was gonna have to happen for us to bond and make that available. So we've done this alternative route here where the visitors who need the parking are going to pay for the parking structure, hence a fee for downtown. We don't spend that on anything else. That's just to fix this parking problem downtown. So when we build the structure, we can decide what to do with money going further. But for right now, it's in its own enterprise, just like the water fund. It stays to fix the parking problem downtown. So that's why we have.
No, I was involved with that when it was.
And again,
I'll
just because there may be folks that weren't involved with it.
No, right, and I understand that, and that isn't my concern. My concern goes back to all of that traffic on the east end not having to pay for parking. I don't care what it goes for. I mean, it's not that. It just seems very unfair. We should be consistent, it would seem.
Well,
I don't know why.
If East End ends up needing a parking structure, then we may implement something like that.
But I think, you're encouraged, I think that the problem is that you're encouraging people's behavior in a certain way. You're incentivizing them to stay on the east side of town and not to come downtown. So you start creating like an incentive structure. So outside of what the money's going to, you start incentivizing people to visit Idaho Springs in a different way.
They're already not paying for parking on the
Right.
east end. So like, that's the other part, is the east end parking is already free. And how many of the people that are coming downtown are parking on the east end and walking? Like
I'm
very
just saying, you
few.
have to take it all into
Oh,
consideration.
yeah,
It's not just how much money are we raising and what are we raising the money for? It's that there could be unintended consequences of choosing to treat parking differently.
Yeah, I will. Ashley?
So I just wanted to say with the validation program, we are discussing kind of like a split cost with the city. It might not be fully, but it would still be some onuses on the business if that's something we roll out completely to your concern. But the biggest parking challenge on the East End right now is opening up parking for the East End businesses. And so the V Camp loop takes about 90 minutes. So the incentive is to keep the spots turning in front of the businesses on the East End where the bikers are parking to get their businesses patronized. On the very first weekend it opened, that they couldn't even get in to open the businesses down there.
Right.
So that is where this 2-hour structure comes in. And it's mostly to incentivize bikers to keep moving.
I don't,
So like,
isn't the East End part of the city of Idaho Springs?
isn't it kind of like a classic,
Of course.
like, city planning
So,
concept,
yeah.
though? It's like, this is a smaller area, so there's less space,
It's
spaces,
demand.
so you pay, yeah. And demand is shifting right now. basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, and that's really kind of what we're trying to grapple with is like, obviously the parking downtown is at a premium because it's a small area and it's heavily trafficked. And it's, now we're looking at a little bit larger of an area and how mainly a big part of this is enforcement. One of our biggest complaints over after V Camp opened was the only enforcement that we could really do was Zach going around and educating people. We can't really enforce it when we don't have a managed parking program. So the first step is figuring out what do we need to do to manage the parking program on the East End and how can we work within that to make sure business parking is being protected as well as do we charge? Again, the conversation is, do we charge for parking in general? Do we say it's for the first 2 hours, it's this much money and they have to pay to park on, Comba's perspective, and I think we have Gary on. I think he's not, no, we don't have Gary on today. Comba's perspective is that because we don't have a designated trailhead parking lot, most trail riders are not used to paying for parking to ride a trail. So they're used to having free parking to ride a trail. So that was kind of his attitude towards it. Would that steer them away? I doubt it. However,
This is a different type of, I mean, most trailheads, you're looking
have a
at-
designated
Exactly.
parking lot, which
Well, and aren't in a town.
exactly aren't in a town. There's
Yeah.
lots of different things about this. So it's a complex management program. Obviously, we need to have some kind of managed parking down there because without a managed parking of some kind down there, we can't enforce anything. Tara?
This is a good problem to have.
Yeah,
It
it's true.
is, yeah.
Why don't we have permitted and 2-hour for residents? Like, I've never seen before that like immediately it's resident and ticketed next to paid, like. And a lot of, like, is there a reason we chose that instead of like doing, like, for example, the city of Boulder, if you live on a block, it's 3-hour. Or you have your pass, like next to Pearl Street, like 2 blocks out of Pearl Street. So like people, like, why didn't we do it that way? I feel like that affects us a
Cause if
lot.
you work at the mine and you come home at 6 AM and you have to find parking on your street. I mean, I think there was a lot of conversation with residents that live right on Colorado, because that's really the base of where a lot of the resident parking is at.
Yeah, I think a lot of resident designated areas came from on a summer day, if you leave to go to the grocery store and you come back, your parking spot is gone. And that's really where the designated resident zones came from. Same thing with Riverside, especially with the thought of V Camp coming was we didn't want residents to go to work and come home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and have nowhere to park. That was the idea behind it originally. And again, we're having lots of good conversations with Interstate about evolving the program, making sure that we have the right technology to do what we're doing, where we can show overflow parking, where we can encourage and educate our visitors about parking. Do we need to change the parking rate structure to have an on-season parking rate versus an off-season parking rate? These are big conversations. As the mayor said, it's very important that we have a protected enterprise fund because if the grant falls through, we need to be able to bond off of the parking revenue so that we can still build the parking structure even if the grant falls through.
Right now, we can't.
And right now we can't. And Guy has been doing his due diligence, getting caught up on basically the minimum average ticket we need. We're working behind the scenes to make sure that we know what that average ticket dollar, we had come up with a rate before. We do feel like that rate maybe is a little bit higher than we anticipated. So there is a little bit more wiggle room in there than we thought there was. However, these are the conversations that are happening and we just want to make sure you guys are also aware.
One thing I want to see is, the bikers took the parking, but the bikers are also customers. Cause I think the East Side Business did very well for them, right?
They did, but I think one of the biggest problems is like they were coming first thing in the morning. They were taking all of the street parking from the liquor store all the way down to where the trailhead is. And it's like they're there for, 3 hours. And if they do come and spend money, that's fine, but it's during business hours when their car is parked there for 3 to 4 hours. All those parking spots and that many customers that are just moving on because they can't find a parking spot. They're taking up 3 to 4 hour blocks on that public parking. And
Well, and let's,
we're lucky, we have a big enough parking lot that we can subsidize some of that, but it's the smaller businesses that don't have any parking with Marion's, but after 2, it doesn't matter for them anyway.
and,
So-
and that's very similar to what happens in the summertime with people parking down here to ride up Mount Evans all day long and then then they don't even eat,
And
they don't
They're
even
paying
come
for
to town.
parking.
Yeah. So now they're paying for
So
parking,
I
but they
feel
weren't.
like eventually,
needed to be.
it could be an incentive to start this summer with no parking for 2 hours, but eventually it's gonna be paid parking, because it's just.
Well, and it could also be,
Benefit.
another item we talked about was, the when does the time of this managed paid, like right now, parking starts at 10 AM down here. So is it something where we look at what time does paid parking start on the east end? And saying, okay, it's this much per hour, starting at this time. Like, there's so many
It's
different.
hard because like the liquor store doesn't open until like what, 9 or 10, and then Marion's opens at 6 o'clock in the morning, and so it's like, we don't open until 11, so I don't care if you park there until 11.
Yeah.
After 11 o'clock, that starts to matter for us.
Mhm.
So everybody's different down there, so it's kind of hard
That-
to
yeah.
please everybody.
That would be hard to manage.
Exactly. How do you come through? It has to all be the same time. It has to be fair for everybody. And it's like you have to implement it from 9 AM to 4 PM or 5 PM, whatever that looks like for that in the town. It has to be fair for everybody.
Absolutely.
What about
But to
the,
expand on what Tara was saying, the paid or the permit for residents, I believe, is only like 2 major blocks on Colorado. Because I've had people tell me on the west end of Colorado at the very end, they have people parking there and I've witnessed it. They will get out and walk.
Yeah.
And they will park there and they are the ones who get out on their bikes to go up to the Mount Blue Sky. So it is not expanded the whole way for residents and maybe it is something to like come over to.
Yeah, truth be correct, there's a lot of resident. Because I was a visitor, I'd be like, whoa, this was far.
is it the ballpark? Are we still utilizing that for V camp? I know there was some.
Yep.
There were challenges around like soccer practices and whatnot, but maybe that can be the lot that people are directed to before a certain time or.
We are educating, we've worked on a technology with Interstate, which is helpful, and Jen's gonna get me a list of when I need to turn it off. But we can, it is shown as overflow parking right now, specifically on VCamp's website as well as on Park Idaho Springs website. And we can turn it off and on, where if it's off for whatever reason, soccer or an event down there, and all of that's all up in the air because of their construction timeline down there. We can turn it off and on. So that is something we have implemented. There are also offline talks that are not yet finalized about additional off-site parking situations for VCamp. Again, those are just offline talks that are not yet there yet. However, everybody's trying to be super creative.
I just had something quickly, maybe on the radar, the wellness center is of course owned by the county. And on weekends, right, there's like 30, low 30s, 31, 32 spaces down there. And the commissioners, I know George Marlin has talked about the possibility of opening those spaces up for paid parking. The county would end up earning a little extra money on frankly completely unutilized spaces on the weekends. So anyways, I don't know how they'll vote, but just keep that on your radar. We may be hearing more about it. But I would have to say, when we really need the parking on weekends, I think we could all welcome that.
I just want to say, like, again, I thank you all for your participation in this conversation. Obviously, we all know parking and paid parking is a hot topic. no final decisions have been made. I'll make sure you guys are all aware when any kind of final decisions. I definitely hear your perspective on if it should be consistent across the board. I hear that. I hear Tara's concerns about residential parking and maximizing, making sure we're having the most amount of parking that we have available. Yeah.
Would we be able to, do the validation to, I don't know what
For the
right word
downtown?
would be to these people who are frustrated? Like, how would a validation work? Cause me as a
Yes.
business owner, I don't think I would wanna pay too much
Yeah.
for that, but like, would that be a way to kind of like, not placate or pacify, but essentially.
Right, so what we're working on right now, and Ashley's helping me on this, is working on like a cost share situation where for the validation, and we have to bring this to city council. This is not something that we could just implement. This would have to be something city council would approve. But where we could maybe share like a bit, like if I from Spice and Tea wanted to validate someone's parking, I would pay half the parking rate and the city would pay the other half of the parking rate that we're validating. And we're working on technology, and Ashley's helping me figure out how to make that work. And that's something that this board can bring as a recommendation to city council, saying, hey, the businesses would like to, especially I think would be important for us if we decide that the paid parking program looks consistent across all of Idaho Springs and the managed parking program is the same across the board, then I would highly recommend that this board make a recommendation that we bring some kind of validation program to city council that says, hey, this is what we recommend, this is what Interstate can help us with. But we're not there right now. We haven't made any like headway on those final decisions. And again, if you guys are in interaction with anybody that's cantankerous about parking and paid parking, please encourage them to come have a conversation with me and to talk about solutions and creativity around this subject. We're not trying to, we all know we have a parking problem. We all know we need to figure it out. We have had some conversations about maybe lowering the ticket. A few other things. Carla?
I'm curious, since I don't own a business in downtown, I'm curious if the sales that this particular business owner may be experiencing or the decline in sales is similar to what everyone else is experiencing. And is there, if that's true, then maybe there is some sort of communication that talks about that so that when they can't participate in a meeting like this, they can understand that these things are happening. And it's not just one, obviously, I'm sure there's more than one.
Oh, yeah.
If there's a petition, but there's also a large group of owners that know why it's the case, so.
Yeah, that's a lot of the communication I have with these business owners, the ones that want to be collaborative and have conversations with me. That is a lot about it. This one spearheading particular business owner, I can't say that it's 100% what everybody else is experiencing. I think there's some operational stuff that might play into that. However, that's not for me to say. What I can say is that what I did say to him would he be open to having conversations about, hey, if we have an off-season rate and an on-season rate, while that might cause confusion in some circumstances, would that settle you down? Or if maybe we lowered the ticket. You know, a lot of the conversations that he's having is the $50 ticket is turning people away. And I do have, as Ashley does, many letters and emails from people saying they'll never return here because $50 is outrageous. If you get a parking ticket in Denver, it's $125. So
There's your answer.
Pay the fee and then you won't get the ticket.
email me if it's a mistake and I will honestly help you out as best as I can. And Ashley is a spectacular partner and is very helpful. Anytime I'm like, hey, please just waive this. I don't even really have to give a reason. She's like, okay, bye.
And the ticket price is determined, so if the ticket price was lower than what you're paying for a full day, people are just gonna sit there and get a
Thank you.
ticket.
So right now,
So-
full day is
That
$30.
create a lot more work.
You know, the
for everybody.
$50, we wanted it to be sting enough. I think the reasoning was we wanted it to be a sting enough that people would actually pay it and not continue to break the rules. it would be more expensive than the full day rate, those kind of things. You know, our ticket is $50. What's the ticket rate in Golden?
It's scaled, 50 for the first one, 100 for the second one, 200 for the third one.
Oh,
They don't cap it.
Yeah, so Brett and other places, I mean, we're one of the lower, from our meetings with them, we are one of the lower tickets out there. So I just want people to know that we're trying to be we're trying to come up with collaborative solutions, we're trying to work together.
Is this like, for instance, the city lot here where you guys park? Is that available for people on the weekends? It
It's
is.
paid parking.
It's paid parking?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Same
good.
thing with the bank lot as well right now.
This
Oh.
might be totally wacky and liability might be an issue, but I'm just thinking East End and again, the camp overflow. And if there are businesses that are not filled, like Hill Daddies, maybe I know they're parking, I think they were leasing from Starbucks, or maybe the tow company that isn't filled yet. Maybe those businesses are interested in renting their spaces out and making a little bit of money until they get a business in there.
The
It's
mayor-
unfortunate we have vacant spaces, but at least maybe we can utilize.
The mayor is having those conversations currently, and we also have, soon we'll bring online the Old Sunshine Cafe. That'll eventually be soon, when it's not being used for construction, will be available for parking as well soon.
Nice.
So we are trying to bring on additional parking. I want to get us through the last couple of things, because I know I set this for 2 hours, but I tried to keep us shorter. I'm not gonna do too much on the Colorado Tourism Management Grant. What I am gonna say is that I believe the project that we're going to apply for this grant with is going to be specifically around wayfinding and branding of signage. That seems to be the project that they are most excited about, and that would be a collaborative wayfinding and signage program with Argo and VCamp and the city. So that we could make sure that all of the new elements are looped in and consistent and clear. That seems to be the direction that they are pushing me in. I have a call tomorrow morning that will give me more clarity. I did get the go ahead that we're cool to apply for it from the city's end, as long as we have a letter of support from CAS, which we do. And it's already done.
I'm sorry. What's CTO?
That is the Colorado Tourism Office.
Will it tie into the work with Ember as well, the
The
branding work?
Ember
Yeah.
is already the one that has that proposal that's for VCamp and Argo already, and it would just be us looping in ours and doing a wayfinding branding package that we could then implement. So that's my suggestion there. So last thing on our, is this, mainly again, as I said at the beginning, this is informational. They approached us. They knew we were, looking and doing all these things, happy on their due diligence. The main reason I wanted the board to see this is to, if you flip to the end on page 14, you can see that they're requesting $1,000 per month for social media management.
Content?
If you look up at the top, the onboarding and creative market analysis and the commercial video production, that $15,000 would include a large, big day shoot where they would capture a ton of content. And then that $1,000 a month would include some small additional content creation, but you'll also see monthly content creation, including having to come up and do more things, is an additional $1,700 a month.
It's actually $2,700 for social media, because social media is more current topics, you don't do it once.
100%. So this is to give you an idea of what something like this costs from a big brand management agency. Obviously, it's outside of our budget. We don't have this money to pay per month. What we do, Katie Daly was here, she did have to leave. We have some amazing people in our community that can help with content creation. Katie specifically is video asset and content creation. Ross, which a lot of you know already, can definitely help. I just wanted you guys to understand, like, posting on Facebook and Instagram is not free. If you want somebody to do it outside of me, I would like us to consider, as we look forward, especially towards next year's budget ask for city council, that city council also understands the cost of these kind of things, as everybody that's in, Lindsay and all of us at the table understand how much work it actually takes to put up a content management calendar and making sure it's all posted accurately.
And just, if you read earlier in this thing, they do specialize in make sure it's pertinent to your brand.
100%.
It explains that in here.
Yeah, these are if we had the money, I would recommend these people. They work with several municipalities already. In the metro area, they have some mountain accounts as well. They're Colorado natives. They are very well experienced in what they do. Their content and production is spectacular. Everything I've seen from them has been beautiful. They're just out of our price.
Like, there's a bunch of companies in this.
There are, and they're all similarly priced. We might find something a little bit less, but I just want you to understand that's kind of the range when you're doing a full company versus probably what we're gonna be doing on this year is paying a la carte. So we're gonna pay Ross this many hours to get video content. We're gonna, and a lot of, hopefully what we'll be doing is leveraging our marketing buys for them to be doing a lot of our content creation, that then we'll build a content library that we can choose from, that we can activate for social media, that we can activate for other things. That's gonna be part of Gregory's angle, as he's gonna be like, no, you pay for that. No, you come up and do a video shoot. That's what his specialty is. He's already gotten significant amount of free content for us that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So that's kind of his angle, but we all felt it was important that you see what it might look like. So there's that. Any questions?
What's
Oh yeah, I'll tell you that.
Just a thought, so the Tri-County Workforce Development Center, they have an adult internship program. I'm applying for someone, you'll learn more this tomorrow, Chuck. For CCDC, it can either be project-based or it can be like an assistant. So, and this is completely paid for by federal grant funding that goes to the state. Workman's comp, everything is paid for. So we could potentially apply for an assistant for you.
Someone
that
that
can
just
help with
posts-
some of this
They
stuff.
can just post it.
And so like I'm doing this project based for CCDC that's digitizing things. I'm actually looking at the deli for potentially someone to do marketing. But we write the job description, submit it to the coordinator at the workforce office, and then they put it out and again, it's completely paid for. So it might be something to consider to offset our
Nice.
budget, but increase our capacity for the marketing or social media part. I mean, they're obviously not a professionally working for a marketing company, but someone that wants an internship that is going into that field.
Can you send me
So
that
we can talk,
information?
yeah.
Because that seems like a really great
Mhm.
alternative for us, as well. So. Somebody else had a raise hand. Okay, so for February, that I wanted to tap Andy and make sure, do we want to completely virtual February? Or I will just be attending virtually? What's the best way to go about that situation?
It's a little less complicated if it's all virtual.
That's kind of
I
my
mean,
thought.
we do hybrid a lot, so I think it's
We
really
do.
up to the board here. I think we could do either way.
Okay,
I
so
think
won't-
all
you won't be here.
virtual will be easier for all of us to hear and see faces.
Okay.
And
So-
that's just my thought.
So for February's meeting, it is on a Tuesday again. It's the 18th because of a holiday. I, of course, will be virtual, so I wanted your guys' guidance. If you'd like the meeting all virtual, we can totally advertise it as a full virtual meeting. And I agree, it might be easier for me especially to manage the meeting from that perspective, but I will be disseminating information and doing everything and working remotely. I will be designating 2 full days and 2 full days and 2 half days. I'll be available via email. Everybody will get my email that says you would have to contact me on WhatsApp if you're looking for a cell phone call, because I don't get data service down there consistently. It sometimes works and sometimes not. So I will be available via email the whole time I'm gone. And then if you need a phone call, WhatsApp is the best way to get a hold of me while I'm down there. So if everybody's comfortable, we could do the virtual meeting.
Will you read doing it in here? Like, I guess if there's anyone in the community that couldn't do that for some reason, will you be in here anyway?
Well, no, I think
Okay.
if we do all virtual, we would.
We would have to say it's
we would not be in
100%.
here,
Yeah, we would have to say we were 100%.
Now, if we want to do hybrid, we could do that, but I think from what you're describing, I think it might make more sense to be all virtual for this particular meeting.
Just for this particular one. And again, our February agenda is pretty limited, so we should be able to cover a lot of everything we need within an hour. We don't have a lot of hot topics on the January agenda or the February agenda right now. It will mainly be some updates around the collaborative community beautification program, and then mainly updating you guys where we are on branding, website, and marketing. Other than that, we don't have a big action item in February, which is why I chose to leave then. I did want to say we have a new business in town. We have another pet supply going in the same place that the pet supply place was before, right by the rec. I'll be reaching out to introduce myself to these owners. But it's right on Colorado Boulevard in the same place that it was before.
Well, I think maybe it's about 12 years ago, there was one in the Gold Rush Center. And my understanding is that's where they're.
Do you mean on minor?
No, they're on Colorado Boulevard.
Where are they in Colorado?
Yeah.
1800
Right,
Colorado,
right,
over there.
okay,
Mhm.
gotcha.
Yeah, not
I was
that
thinking-
one.
I was thinking-
Sorry, you're right,
Well,
that
there
one.
was one, yeah.
There was one there. What I meant is
Okay.
it's a different person. It's not the same business that was there before. But it's Clear Creek Critters Pet Supply. Cute, and I really like their logo. And hopefully they're successful. I'll reach out. This is out. County Tourism Magazine is official and printed. I don't have copies for everyone, but Cass says she will be around disseminating copies soon. This will be going in the media day kits for everybody. And you should be seeing them if your business specifically wants more than 4 or 5 copies, reach out to Cass and she'll bring a box for you. But it's out.
also being mailed.
They're also
This year
being
they're also
mailed.
being mailed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But if your business, for example, wants a box, Cass said to just reach out specifically and she'll deliver boxes out and about. So that's out. Any other comments, questions, Lindsay?
I swore I wasn't gonna talk too much in this meeting, but if I could very quickly let everyone know, so we are doing our second annual rural or regional resilience mixer and leadership breakfast. So because it's a regional effort and we serve both Clear Creek and Gilpin County, we're gonna go back and forth every year. So last year we had our first, it was fantastic. We had over 100 people show up at the Club Hotel. This year we'll be at the Teller House in Central City. This is gonna be the evening of the 13th, and then we're gonna have the leadership breakfast the morning of the 14th. So I've talked to some of you about that regional resilience team. Dr. Cog is partnering again. We're finalizing the agenda tomorrow with Dr. Cog and Flo Bertano. She's a great facilitator. So far, I have presentations set up from the Small Business Development Center for that evening and also the Workforce Development Center that we're partnered with, and we'll have some other exciting things for businesses and just the community as a whole. So we'd love to have you. I know it's in Gilpin this year, but if you want to come over, we did get a room block at the Monarch. I think it's $116 for the night. So if you want to make it a fun evening, we'll send out more information, but I did disseminate an email with a press release and information yesterday to our entire email list. But Sadie will get with you if we could send it out to your email, trying to get all the information out. I know this is coming up quickly.
When is it?
It's gonna be the evening of the 13th, Thursday, February
Oh,
13th.
okay.
It'll be catered. It'll be a fun night. Looking forward to making more connections over in Gilpin County. This resilience team we're putting together is made up of both Gilpin County stakeholders as well as Clear Creek. What we've done throughout January is we've met with every municipality in both counties, asking them to pass a resolution in support of economic development and to appoint someone to this team. The team is going to be really working on that resilience framework that is a result of last year's event and a decade's worth of economic development studies that have been done. We've compiled all of that data, all of the recommendations, all of the community feedback into this 100-page document that will be the focus of this resilience team. So if you want any more information, just reach out. But really hoping everyone can come on the 13th, and Sadie will share the email. Please share it with your networks as
Well, and I'll
well.
be on that resilience team, so anything that comes forward that you guys need to know from that, if obviously Lindsay's on the board, so she'll be there, but I'll also be making sure that we're on top of anything we want to be partnering in with, and this will be another great way for us to partner with Blackhawk and.
Yeah,
And
and
Gilpin.
Sadie's serving as the representative for Clear Creek County Small Business. So she'll be really tapped into all of that, and then Cass is representing the tourism piece. Gilpin will have a small business rep, a tourism rep, a broadband, childcare, each
Little
area that we're
category.
trying to, yeah.
Fun stuff. Okay, cool. All right. All right, if there's nothing else, I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 3:44 PM. Thank you all for your attendance and hard work. I appreciate you all so much.
We appreciate you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, God. Do I just, I get,
Can I?
you